Elon Musk. Boy, do we have a crazy story to get into in regards to Elon Musk here today, folks. Okay. Elon Musk moving servers himself shows his maniacal sense of urgency at X, formerly Twitter. This is insane what we're about to get into, okay? This whole story. And what this really shows, it shows, one, how broken Twitter really was, the culture at Twitter, everything that was going on in this story. It really shows that Elon Musk, despite being the richest man in the world and all these things, is really willing to do whatever it takes to kind of have something be successful, right? And just an absolutely crazy story. So I thought I'd read this one with you guys, react to this one, give my opinions and perspectives on this. If you've been a Tesla shareholder for years like myself, like you've heard some crazy stories from, out of Elon Musk's side when it comes to him at Tesla, but we haven't heard too many epic stories come out of Twitter until very recently here, okay? Now, this is basically taken from Walter Isaacson's biography on Elon Musk, which was published here very recently. And Walter Isaacson, if you recognize that name, is because he did a great book in the past on Steve Jobs that was well over a decade ago now at this point in time. A very famous book on Steve Jobs, okay? Quote, "Does this time frame sound like something that is remotely acceptable?" Musk asked. Obviously not. Its timeline is long, it's wrong. It was a late night on December 22nd, and the meeting in Musk's 10th floor conference room at X, formerly Twitter, had become tense. He was talking to two X infrastructure managers who had not dealt with him much in the past before, and certainly not dealt with him when he was in a foul mood. One of them tried to explain the problem. The data services company that housed one of X's server farms located in Sacramento had agreed to allow some short-term extensions on their lease so they could begin to move out during 2023 in an orderly fashion. But this morning, the nervous manager told Musk, they came back to us and said that plan had no longer been on the table because these are words that they don't think would be financially viable, okay? All right, the facility was costing X more than $100 million a year. Musk wanted to save the money by moving the servers to one of X's other facilities in Portland, Oregon. Another manager at the meeting said that couldn't be done that way. Quote, "We can't get out safely before 6 to 9 months, she said in a matter-of-fact tone. Sacramento still needs to be around to serve traffic. Over the years, Musk had been faced with many times a choice between what he thought was necessary and what other thoughts was possible. The result was almost always the same. He paused in silence for a few moments, then announced, "You have 90 days to do it. If you can't make that work, your resignation is accepted." The manager began to explain in detail some of the obstacles to relocating the servers to Portland. Quote, it has different rack densities, different power densities, she said. So the rooms need to be upgraded. She started to give a lot more details, but after a minute, Musk interrupted. "This is making my brain hurt," Musk said. "I'm sorry, that was not my intention," she said in a measured monotone. "Do you know the head explosion emoji, he asked. "That's what my head feels like right now. What a pile of effing bull stuff." Jesus, yeah, okay. I don't need to say that to you. Portland obviously has tons of room. It's trivial to move servers from one place to another. The ex-managers again tried to explain the constraints. Musk interrupted. Can you have someone go to our server centers and send me videos from the inside?" he asked. It was 3 days before Christmas, and the manager promised the video in a week. In a week? Come on, man. Come on. A week? "No, tomorrow," Musk ordered. "I've built server centers myself, and I can tell you if you can put servers there or not. That's why I asked. You actually have visited these facilities. If you have not been there, you are talking bull stuff." Let's just put it that way, okay? SpaceX and Tesla were successful because Musk relentlessly pushed his teams to be scrappier, more nimble, and launch fire drill surges that extruded all obstacles. That's how he clobbered together a car production line in a tent in Fremont and a test facility in the Texas desert and a launch site in Cape Canaveral made of used parts. Quote, "All you need to do is move the effing servers to Portland," he said. "If it takes more than 30 days, that would blow my mind." He paused and recalculated. Just get a moving company and it'll take a week to move the computers and another week to plug them in. 2 weeks. That's what should happen. So, you obviously got these folks at Twitter thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to take 6 to 9 months. And Elon's saying, no, this is going to take 2 weeks. Everyone was silent, but Musk was still warming up. If you've got a good U-Haul, you could probably do it yourself. The two ex-managers looked to see if he was serious. Two of Musk's top loyalists, Steve Davis and we'll call him Ahmed, were also at the table. They had seen him like this many times before, and they knew that he might be serious. Quote, "Why don't we just do it right now?" James Musk asked. James and his brother Andrew, younger cousins of Musk, were flying with him from San Francisco to Austin on Friday evening, December 23rd, the day after the frustrating infrastructure meeting about how long it would take to move the servers out of Sacramento facility. Avid skiers, they had planned to go by themselves to Tahoe for Christmas, but Elon that day invited them to come to Austin instead. James was reluctant. He was mentally exhausted and didn't want any more intensity, but Andrew convinced him that they should go. So that's how they ended up on a plane listening to Elon complain about the servers. They were somewhere over Las Vegas when James made the suggestion that they should move them now. It was a type of impulsive, impractical surge into the breach idea that Musk loved. It was already late evening, and he told the pilot to divert and make a loop back up to Sacramento. The only rental car they could find when they landed was a Toyota Corolla. Come on, man. You couldn't get a Tesla? Come on. Elon Musk couldn't get a Tesla somehow? Holy smokers, that's no joke. It's that's just mind-blowing in itself. He had to be riding around in a Corolla. They were not sure how they could even get inside the data center at night. But one very surprised ex-staffer, a guy named Alex from was still there. He merrily let them in and showed them around. Yeah, if Elon Musk shows up, you're probably going to show him around the facility a little bit, right? Come on. The facility, which housed rooms of servers for many of the other companies as well, was very secure, with a retinal scan required for entry into each of the vaults. Alex was able to get them into the X vault, which contained about 5,200 refrigerator-sized racks of 30 computers each. Quote, "These things do not look like they're hard to move," Elon announced. It was a reality-distorting assertion since each rack weighed 2,500 pounds and was 8 feet tall. Quote, you'll have to hire a contractor to lift the floor panels," Alex said. "They need to be lifted with suction cups. Another set of contractors," he said, would have to go underneath the floor panels and disconnect the electric cables and seismic rods. Musk turned to the security guard and asked to borrow his pocket knife. Using it, he was able to lift one of the air vents in the floor, which allowed him to pry open the floor panels. He then crawled under the server floor himself, used a knife to jimmy open the electrical cabinet, pulled the server plugs, and waited to see what happened. Nothing exploded. The server was ready to be moved. "Well, that doesn't seem super hard," he said to Alex and the rest of the guys that were there, right? Musk was totally jazzed at this point. It was, he said, a loud laugh, like a remarkable Mission Impossible Sacramento edition. The next day, Christmas Eve, Musk called in reinforcements. Ross, who had worked with his friend James at Tesla, drove from San Francisco. He stopped at the Apple store in Union Square and spent $2,000 to buy an entire stock of AirTags so the servers can be tracked on the journey. Just think about this. This is crazy, man. They bought $2,000 worth of AirTags so they could track them. And then stopped at Home Depot, where he spent $2,500 on wrenches, bolt cutters, headlamps, and the tools needed to unscrew the seismic bolts. Home Depot earnings in Q4 and Apple earnings in Q4. Thank, Elon Musk for spending that money at your place, okay? Steve Davis, a loyal Musk lieutenant, got someone to procure a semi-truck and line up moving vans. Other enlistees arrived from SpaceX. The server racks were on wheels, so the team was able to disconnect 4 of them and roll them to the waiting truck. This showed that all 5,200 or so could probably be moved within days. They're kicking butt, Elon Musk said. Well, maybe not that, okay? Other workers at the facility watched with a mix of amazement and horror. Musk and his renegade team were rolling out servers without putting them in crates or swaddling them in protective material, then using store-bought straps to secure them to the truck. I've never loaded a semi before, James admitted. Ross called it terrifying. It was like cleaning out a closet, but this stuff was totally critical. At 3 p.m., after they had gotten 4 servers onto the truck, word of the situation reached top executives at NTT, the company that owned and managed the data center. They issued orders that Musk's team halt. Musk had a mix of glee and anger that often accompanied one of his manic surges. He called the CEO of the storage division and told him it was impossible to move the server racks without a bevy of experts. Bull crap, Musk explained. Maybe not that word, okay? We already have loaded 4 of them onto the semi. The CEO that told him some of the floors could not handle more than 500 pounds of pressure, so rolling a 2,000-pound server could cause damage. Musk replied that the servers had 4 wheels, so the pressure at any one point was only 500 pounds. This dude's not very good at math, Musk told the Musketeers. Oh man, this is too much. This is too much. Having ruined the Christmas Eve of the NTT managers, as well as hitting them up with a potential loss of more than $100 million in revenue for the coming year, Musk showed pity and said he would suspend moving the servers for 2 days, but they would resume, he warned, the day after Christmas, so December 26. After Christmas, Andrew and James headed back to Sacramento to see how many servers they could move. They had bought enough clothes, so they had, from Walmart, bought jeans, t-shirts, all this stuff. That's hilarious. The moving contractors that NTT wanted basically charged $200 an hour. So James went on Yelp and found a moving company named Extra Care Movers that would do the work at 1/10 the cost. Even that blew my mind. That might be the craziest part of this whole story. I mean, I don't think the craziest part is Elon Musk riding around a Toyota Corolla, flying his private jet back to Sacramento in the middle of the night and, using an electrical knife to try to move servers, or the fact that Elon Musk wanted to, move servers. I think just the fact that they could find movers for $20 an hour is pretty damn impressive in my opinion. Holy smokes, okay. The motley company pushed the idea of scrappiness to its outer limits. The owner had lived on the streets for a while, then had a kid, and he was trying to turn his life around. He didn't have a bank account, so James ended up using PayPal to pay him. Holy smokers, that's no joke. That's what I'm talking about. PayPal, coming in clutch. PLPY. The second day, the crew wanted cash, so James went to the bank and withdrew $13,000 from his personal account. 2 of the crew members had no identification, which made it hard for them to sign into the facility. See, at Twitter, everything was so bureaucratic. This could have never happened, okay? They're talking about 6 to 9 months. You think they're going to allow some people with no identification for $20 an hour to move all these servers in a matter of a few days? Heck no, okay? Heck no. That couldn't even be conceived. Twitter was a company that took massive losses for the longest time, right? This was a company that, basically got funded by VC money. It was sloshed with free money from basically the get-go. And it didn't have a very, especially as the years went on, it definitely didn't have any sort of scrappy culture. It had a very bureaucratic, just horrible culture, I guess you can say, like, so helpless. That's the best way I could put it. Helpless. We can't do that. We don't know how to do this. We can't do that. We need to hire an expert, a professional. And Elon Musk's just like, dude, we're freaking moving servers. Give me a break. We're going to freaking move these things, okay? But they made up for it in hustle. Quote, you get $1 tip for every additional server we move, James announced at one point. From then on, we got a new truck on a truck, right? When they got a new truck, the workers would ask them how many were up there. The servers had user data on them, and James could not identify or realize that for privacy reasons. They were supposed to be wiped clean before moving. Quote, by the time we learned this, the servers had already been unplugged and rolled up, so there was no way we could roll them back, plug them in, and wipe them, he says. Plus, the wiping software, you technically could have, but anyways, that's a subject for another day. Plus, the wiping software wasn't working. What are we going to do? He asked. Elon recommended that they load the trucks and track them. Yeah, By the way, they could have rolled them off and plugged them back in. That wasn't like that was impossible, okay? That just goes to show you, like, when you want to get something done, you can get something done. And when you're, like, in a situation where you're like, no, we can't do that. We don't really want to do that. You can do that, right? That's life, man. That's life. That's comical. So James sent someone to Home Depot to buy big padlocks, and they sent the combination codes on a spreadsheet to Portland so the trucks could be opened there. I can't believe it worked, James said. They all made it to Portland safely. Yeah, what the heck is everybody else going to do with these servers? By the end of the week, they had used the available trucks in Sacramento. Despite the area being pummeled by rain, they moved more than 700 racks in 3 days. The previous record at a facility had been 30 in a month. So they moved 700 racks in 3 days. And the most that had been moved in the past was 30 in a month. Like, that just goes to show you what can be done and what can't be done, right? In the beliefs as humans that certain things can't be done, in the beliefs of certain humans that things can be done and they can be done very quickly, right? This still left a lot of servers in the facility, but the Musketeers had proven that they could be moved quickly. The rest were handled by ex-infrastructure team in January. All very exciting and inspiring, right? An example of Elon Musk's bold and scrappy approach. But as with all things Musk, it was also, alas, not that simple. It was also an example of recklessness, his impatience with pushback, and the way he intimidated people. X's infrastructure engineers had tried to explain to him it was in that head explosion emoji meeting a week earlier why a quick shutdown of the Sacramento Center would be a problem, but he shut them down. He had a good track record of knowing when to ignore the naysayers, but not a perfect one. For the next 2 months, X was destabilized. The lack of servers caused meltdowns, including when Musk hosted a Twitter Spaces for a presidential candidate, DeSantis. In retrospect, quote, "In retrospect, the whole Sacramento shutdown was a mistake," Musk would admit in March of 2023. "But I was told we had redundancy across our data centers. What I wasn't told is that we had 70,000 hard-coded references to Sacramento, and that there's still, let's just call it crap, that's broken because of it." His most valuable lieutenants at Tesla and SpaceX had learned ways to deflect his bad ideas and drip feed him some unwelcome information. But the legacy employees at X didn't know how to handle him. That said, X survived, and the Sacramento caper showed X employees that he was serious when he spoke, his maniacal sense of urgency. So, I mean, what a just fascinating story there, right? It shows a broken culture at Twitter. It shows Musk is relentlessness in despite all his success and all his wealth and, certainly all the publicity he gets and all those things, right? He's still just humble enough to just be like, I'm going to freaking drive a Toyota Corolla. I'm going to go down to those servers and I'm going to get a pocket knife and I'm going to figure out how to do this crap, right? And it shows how still grounded he really is, even despite his level of success, right? Because I could tell you a lot of people that are high level, wealthy folks and whatnot, they would look at that and just be like, that's not worth my time. Somebody else can figure out that. Other people would have just accepted that. And clearly it shows that way of thinking was accepted at Twitter, which shows why it was a failing enterprise, right? I mean, that was a failing business in a massive, massive way. We all know that. I still think it was a bad purchase by Elon Musk. I think he could have started his own social media company and built it from the ground up to be much more successful than having to go through this broken culture, fix the culture, and fix the company at the same time, because those are two different problems. To fix a broken company on the financial front and fix a broken company on the culture front, those are two very different things. And let's be very clear, the culture was broken at Twitter. I mean, this story just is one example of many stories we've heard over the last 6 to 9 months of just a broken culture at a company, right? And, gosh, like that's just insane. And it also goes to show that Musk really has these individuals from Tesla, from SpaceX, and it's kind of like in Kathy Wood, I understand she gets hate sometimes, but she's always had some phenomenal points in regards to this. She says it's like a brain trust of talent that he has around him, right? And even what he's been doing with the artificial intelligence side and hiring people specific for a new AI startup, like he just has he's able to attract the highest level talent, and this high level talent, a lot of them just, think like he thinks, and like we can do things differently than they've ever been done before. And, it reminds me a little bit of The Matrix, right? Which, if you've ever seen the movie The Matrix, it's a great movie that there's a belief, that humans are very limited and we can only do certain things and whatnot, right? And The Matrix just kind of like breaks that mold and of like humans being able to do things. And it reminds me, because I'm watching this Monday Night Football game last night, right? And this receiver just makes this absolutely incredible catch for a touchdown, right? And I'm just watching that, and I'm like, there's no human that could have made that catch 50 years ago. There's no human that could have made that catch 100 years ago. But as time goes on, athletes just get better and better, and we learn from each other, and we see others do things in the past, and we're like, we can do that better. And so we level up, and athletes are able to do things that you never could have even conceived of athletes doing even 50 years ago or 100 years ago. And so I think athletics is just a great way of seeing the matrix mold just be broken time and time again. And people just be able to do things that were like literally you couldn't even imagine that scenario happening in the past, right? And it happens in business all the time. And I think Musk is just one of those great people at breaking the molds of what people think is possible and what he thinks is possible, because those are two very, very different things, okay? I hope you enjoyed me sharing this video with you guys here today. That was just fascinating. I was like, I've got to share this either on the main channel, the reaction channel, or something. So appreciate you guys joining me. Much love as always. I hope you guys enjoyed me sharing that with you. And yeah, have a great day.